welcome to Radio Sensation. I'm your host, Dan, and this episode is going to be about Mexican horror cinema, posters from Mexican fantasy films. This is a great book, and if you're not familiar with the Mexican horror and fantasy films, this is a good overview of these earlier films. This goes up, I believe it ends in the 70s. But it leans heavily here. There's a picture of Santos, and the luchadores are pretty heavy in this book. There's the fun thing about these is I saw some of these at a kids matinee. It was the first time I ever saw them, and when I saw it, I thought, why are they showing such an old movie? Even as a kid, I thought this looked much older than it was. These movies always seem like that because of the way they were lagging behind because of their budgets, they kind of technically lagged behind American films, and so they look like they're about a decade off. So whatever decade you think a film was made in, it's probably a decade later than that. But at some point they catch up. But these are really low budget films for the vast majority of them, and but they're a lot of fun. They're slow. The scenes with interesting stuff going on are infrequent, which is true of a lot of the American films too. I mean, a lot of times you were waiting a pretty long time for a monster payoff or something exciting to happen. Now, some of the Masked Wrestler movies do have a lot of ring action. They pad out the films with that. But, that to me is kind of boring. I wanted to see the wrestlers fight monsters. And, but a lot of times they're just fighting henchmen or other opponents in the ring, regular people. But there are exceptions to that, and these are pretty cool. I really enjoy them. They're a little hard to track down if you're looking for like a DVD or a VHS, but a bunch of them have popped up on YouTube. You can try and check them out there. They not that many of them were dubbed back in the days, and so a lot of them were released in Mexico without subtitles, no English subtitles, no English dub. But I have some of those. They're fun, but it'd be nice if they had been subtitled, or my Spanish was better, one or the other. One recent company has started doing is making new dubs for some of these movies, and they're very low budget dubs. And a lot of people really dislike them. But, if you need to have a dub on your films, there's a lot that have been dubbed since then. Again, not very great dubs, but, adequate for these movies for the most part. So let's take a look through here. And this book gets my highest recommendation. It's a great book to introduce you to these early films. It's broken up into these, the prologue, Mexican fantasy films, a brief history, collecting, some tips on collecting these posters. Santo, there's a chapter just on Santo. Then there's the 50s, 60s, and it does go up to the 70s. Like I said, the articles, these chapters on like the brief history, is pretty brief, but it's good. It's a good overview. It's a good place to start. Some choice photographs used throughout of some of the monster suits, and there's great zombie films. The zombies in these movies are old school zombies. They don't eat anybody's brains or anything, even by the time they get to the 70s. There's a lot of these also were kind of like Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein, where it's they take popular comedians and put them with the monsters. Hilarity does not ensue for the most part. They're a lot of fun. There's a good werewolf. I had a good, I actually might still have it around. I had I think it was Something Weird Video. Took a bunch of these movies that did not have dubs or subtitles, and they just cut up all the parts that had monsters in some of these films. Like this early, werewolf movie, Cowboy vs. Werewolf, that was in there, and it's just the monster parts. They put this tape out, and it got pulled for legal reasons. So, they rolled the dice and they lost. But it's a great tape. Something Weird Mexican horror movies. So it's kind of like, kind of reminds me of like a trailer tape compilation, only it's like longer bits. And it's really well worth tracking down. Here's Santos, the wrestler. I'm not going to go into too much of this. I'm going to gather that, if you're watching this reviews of these film magazines, you're at least a little bit familiar with this kind of stuff. There he is with some other characters. You would appear with Blue Demon and Mil Mascaras, some other guys. And now here we get to the meat of it, the posters. That's what we're here for. That's a great poster. These are, this is another case where, just like with a lot of the comics and stuff, the the poster, what's selling the film is probably a lot better than what actually appears. Vampire. It's a great poster. Very, very reminiscent of the American films with the colors. I think there's a Lon Chaney Phantom of the Opera character making an appearance in the poster. And this is from one of Lon Chaney Jr.'s Mexican films that he made. I think this is the one where he's a mummy that turns into a werewolf. That's a great fun poster there too. And these robots, like this is these robots that are like Robot versus the Aztec Mummy and stuff, are just, those look like something out of the American serials. They're just so clunky and odd looking. And here we start seeing all the masked wrestlers. Good looking, this is one of the Chaney werewolf films he did down there. And there's that picture of him is from, I think it's The Indestructible Man, maybe. There's The Witch, a lot of witch movies. There's one of the comedians, Meet the Monsters things. Go to the 60s. We start getting a lot of sexy ladies. This Batwoman movie is pretty terrible. Again, if you like terrible movies, and I do, I like them pretty bad. I can accept them just because of how odd some of them are. This one's pretty... this is pretty up there as far as that stuff goes. That's the wrestling ladies versus the Aztec Mummy. Oh yeah, that's when Rhino Video released that one. They released a couple of things. It was hard because the rights to these things were kind of a little obscured for a while, because the dubs had been done by an American distributor, who Murray, who had did a lot of dubs on foreign language films and released them. And then the rights at some point reverted back to their original Mexican studios, and they didn't, they didn't have the rights to release them with the American dubs. So you see some nudity. There's Neutron. Santos versus the Vampire Women. That's a good one. There's another thing. Yeah, I love the monster mashup ones and all the different monsters that are in there. Those the huh. I wonder what the date is on that. That is ripped off of the poster for a William Castle movie. Nightwalker. That's what it is. That's from Nightwalker, which is a play on there's a famous painting from the 1700s or something called The Nightmare. I don't remember who it's by, but this is kind of the original poster for the William Castle thing is kind of a rip off of that, and then this is a rip off of that yet again. So I mean, I like spotting those kind of things where they use pictures and stuff from other places in their films. And this is the Sexy Santo movie. Santo didn't agree to let them use. There's some mild nudity that was shot for foreign markets because this is the '60s, and these movies were not very hip for the international crowd. So they filmed some sexy scenes, and of course, Santos was a family kind of performer. So the version that was released in Mexico didn't have the nudity. For a long time, it was thought that the sexy version. I don't know that there's actual nudity. I can't remember now, but here's some sexiness. I guess there was a little bit. That's actually been released here in the U.S. with one of those new dubs. I haven't seen it or anything, but so I guess I could take another gander for that. But anyway, they found that somewhere. It's been released. Well, these are some great looking posters. Santos versus the Martians. I think this is the one where the set Santos goes to another planet, but thanks to I think it's a teleportation device or something. Gosh, I can't remember now. It's been so long since I saw it. I had a bootleg of this a long time back. That's been decades ago. I haven't seen it since. But I think this is the one where he teleports to another planet. It's a pretty cheap set that looks like it's for some school's stage play. That's the other planet. I thought it was the moon, but but it might have been Mars. Anyway, and Santos takes a Tommy gun and starts shooting down these guys. Pretty cool stuff. Oh, and here's the Brainiac. Now, this has been released a couple times. This one should be pretty easy to find. It's really fun. I love this goofy monster. It's one of those things where it has a very lame kind of bladder effect to it, so that his head gets kind of puffy and stuff. What's really funny about this is this low budget film has this, but in The Howling, the bladder effects might look more realistic, but it's still a dumb idea to have the face blow up like a balloon as it's changing. I think they did that. The Howling had it. I remember The Beast Within had something like that too, when a character was changing into the giant cicada monster at the end. But this is a great fun movie. There's actually a little more action in it. I remember, if I remember correctly. The Brainiac does more stuff, kills more people. He sucks out people's brains somehow with his tongue. A great movie. This is one I highly recommend. And this is for one of at the end of his life, Boris Karloff went down to Mexico and filmed some scenes that were cobbled together in some different movies. They're not very good. This looks like it's a takeoff on the one Mario Bava film with the mask. So, yeah, I think that this Adventures at the Center of the Earth is a fun one to look for too. It's got some good monsters in it. Have we gone by? I don't think we've gone by the Ship of Monsters. That's a really great one. It's a big monster mash thing with some sexy human Martians. I don't think I went by that one. There was one that I didn't recognize with some. I didn't recognize the poster, but it also didn't have any monsters on it, so I don't think that was it. And here's very finals. You can see these. Some great posters. It's a great book. The movies are a lot of fun. Like I said, any of the movies you see that have Santos and monsters. If you see the Brainiac, that's fun to see. The Aztec Mummy movies are very, very much a slog to get through, but you know, if you haven't seen those kind of things, you should at least watch one or two of them. Anyway, that's it. I hope you enjoyed this. Have a good day.